So I want to welcome everybody for coming. I want to give a special welcome to all of our students, because I know this has got to be probably one of the more high-stress times in the semester. But I appreciate that you're interested in coming and hopefully learning something new from our speaker today. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Cheryl Ehrman. I'm the Dean of Engineering. And today it's my pleasure to introduce our final speaker for the semester in our Silicon Valley Leaders Symposium. And this is Matt Trowbridge, and he is Vice President of Marketing for Omron Automation in the Americas. Mr. Trowbridge was born and raised right here in San Jose, California, where he graduated from Leland High School, which, and I'm kind of wondering, I went to Prospect, so we might have actually met, at a football game or something like that. Band competition, I don't know what your activities were.
Baseball.
And he has a Bachelor of Arts in Technical Journalism and Political Science from Colorado State University. He started his career in automation in Silicon Valley in 1991. He worked for 6 years at General Electric as its sales and Six Sigma leader, and then joined Omron back in 2005 as its West Regional Manager. From that point, he's gone on to greater leadership roles in the company, serving as its Director of Sales West for 5 years, Director of Marketing for 6 years, and he's been in his current role as VP of Marketing for the Americas for the last 3. He has several company teams underneath him, including product marketing, product engineering, industry marketing, marketing communications, digital marketing, and sales development. So once again, please help me welcome Matt Trowbridge, VP of Marketing for Omron in the Americas. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you very much for that. Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming out. I know, I didn't know I was the last speaker. Maybe that's good or bad. But I'm very happy to be here. I always enjoy getting out and meeting students, talking to students. One of the other things I am for the company is I'm the chair for our educational outreach program. I'll get into that a little bit later, but I'm the person who puts together our internship program that we do over the summer, and also our engineering training program where we hire college graduates in once a year to come in and do a 6-month training program and then go off into full-time positions with us. So at the end of the presentation, you'll see my email come up. Feel free to take a picture, write it down, come up and introduce yourself, whatever, and shoot me a note if you ever want to ask questions, talk about anything. I'm very happy to do that. So a big believer in trying to give back. A lot of people have helped me get to where I am today, so I'm very happy to help students get to where they are. I have 3 kids. 2 of them are in college right now. One of them's graduated, and he actually works in the same industry as a competitor to me. So once his company figured out who I was, when they tried to find him on, I think it was LinkedIn or something, and he has the same name as me, and I popped up, and they asked him if he knew me, and he says, well, yeah, that's my dad. And so they made him sign an NDA before he started working. So for holidays, like at Thanksgiving when he was at my house, we couldn't talk about much work or anything. Although I try to get stuff out of him, but he's pretty good at not. So what I'm going to touch on today is just a little bit of everything, and then hopefully I'll get through enough of it where you guys have some questions. I'm happy to answer questions. I'm going to touch on a little bit of my background and how I got to where I am. I know you might be stunned sitting here. All of you are a lot smarter than me because you're engineering students. And you're probably wondering, how did a guy that graduated with a journalism degree at Colorado State end up having 75 people working for him, of which most of them are engineers? I can talk to you about that. I'd be happy to. And I'm also going to talk about the automation industry as a whole. I'm going to talk about Omron, of course, because I'm the marketing guy, and I'm always trying to sell Omron, and I'm also trying to recruit people into our industry. I think it's a fabulous industry to work in. There's so much to do. It's growing rapidly. We were just having a little discussion about the growth of just the robotic side of the business in our industry, and we acquired a robot company back in 2015. Actually right up the 680 freeway. At the time they were in Pleasanton, now they're in San Ramon. They used to be called Adept, and we're moving them in January from San Ramon back to Pleasanton because we need more space. So we still do a lot of design and engineering on new robot technology there, and the software as well. So there's so much going on with automation in all kinds of industries, as I'm sure you see. There's a lot to do. So anyway, I'll get started. So you guys heard a little bit about me already. I would just say that how did I go from a journalism major into the automation world? Well, as I was going through the process of getting my degree in journalism, I spent a lot of time. I set up a television station with two other guys, fellow students at Colorado State. We actually got it on the air there on the local cable channel. That was a long time ago. Today, there's about 60 students on an ongoing basis that operate that television station. It's won national awards. I also was an intern at different TV stations. And by the time I graduated college, I had an offer. I had two offers. Both were in little tiny towns that I never heard of, and both the highest salary I was going to get was about $12,000 a year. And I kind of decided I didn't really like that industry anymore anyway after spending time in it. So I moved from Colorado back home here to the Bay Area, and a friend of mine happened to be working at an automation distributor that was based in Palo Alto at the time, and he said that they had an opening. So I went and got an interview, I got the job, and here I am today, 30-something years later. So a lot in between, obviously. So I'll touch on some more of that later, but that's kind of how I got here. So Omron. Omron was founded in 1933. Dr. Tadaishi was our founder. And like the namesake for your engineering school, I studied a little bit of his background. Dr. Tadaishi was very much, very much into philanthropic things, and he strongly believes in giving back to society. He really believes that improving the social aspects and people's lives in the world should be the foundation of what every company does. And so the majority of everything that Omron invests in with research and development is around trying to improve people's lives in society. And that was really nice when I was reading about your namesake for the school, all the different things he did. And I thought, wow, him and Dr. Tadaishi, I think, would have got along very well. He seemed to be a very dynamic person. So everybody in our company, I've been with other companies that talk like they believe in innovation driven by social needs and respect for all and challenging ourselves. And a lot of it sometimes is just a little bit of lip service. Omron, we live that way. It's in our DNA, and that's the people we hire. This is the first thing we look for when we interview people. Is what are your beliefs, what are your values, right? Do you have respect for everybody? Can you fit in? We are a very matrix type organization, so everybody does a lot interdepartmentally and working in teams, and if you can't function and work well with others in teams and have respect for them, it's probably going to stick out like a sore thumb with us, and it's probably not going to last too long. So we really do live by these values, and the company gives everybody 2 paid days off a year to go out and volunteer in your communities for whatever charity or school or whatever it is that you're passionate about doing to help in your community. You get 2 full paid days off a year to do that. And then every May, the company globally has what we call Founders Week, and we're all out running around as teams, going out and helping all over the communities do all kinds of different activities. It's a lot of fun, but just knowing that there's 30-something thousand people out there around the world that one week doing all that together is really fantastic. So where did Omron come from? Well, Dr. Tadaishi found it, and I noticed that the person who put that slide in for me misspelled tuberculosis. So I just noticed it this morning, and I didn't have a chance to resend it. So, but the company was founded actually on an X-ray timer for back when in the 30s when tuberculosis was an issue. So some other things of interest that you would never know. Omron does a lot of stuff and has done a lot of things that you would never see and know about. But all the automated ticket-taking machines that you see in airports and train stations and all that technology was founded by Omron. And then a lot of it was licensed off, but we still do manufacture some of those systems, especially in Japan. when you're sitting at a stoplight and all of a sudden you see them all either turn red or green going down the street, all that technology was founded by Omron. When you cross the bridges or when you're getting charged tolls on the highways and stuff, that type of technology was also founded by Omron, and actually still is a lot of our technology today, especially here in the Bay Area. We were the first company in the world to build factories that are 100% run by physically challenged people. We have 2 of them in Japan. They've won global awards, and they're 2 of our factories around the world that are the highest quality producing factories we have. And we're very proud of that. Omron developed the technology to give you money instantly out of an ATM machine. That was back in the 60s when National Cash Register came over to Japan and said, hey, we saw what you were doing with those ticket-taking machines and how they spit tickets out. Could you do that same thing with money? So probably, sure. So we invented the technology and then licensed it off the National Cash Register. Everybody's taking pictures on your phone, and you see the little boxes that pop up around people's faces. Omron developed that technology as well. Since we've developed that, other companies have also come up with a similar technology. So there's one company that I won't say the name, that is a fruit company that makes phones. They initially licensed the technology from us, but have since developed their own, but ours is actually still being used in others. So just some of the interesting things we've done that, when I first was being recruited by Omron from General Electric, I had no idea of the types of things that they've been involved with. Lots of other stuff too that we can touch on. So how is the business made up? I work for, obviously, the automation division. So our automation division is about 42% of the company's revenue. The components division at the bottom, while they're only 12% of the company revenue, they also serve as kind of the whole R&D group for the entire business. They have a few thousand engineers all over the world, and so we have a lot of it too, but they really have quite a bit more than us R&D engineers around the world that are just developing technology. They have secret offices in locations like Silicon Valley that all they do is look for trends, and you won't see any names on the doors or anything like that. They look for trends going on, and they study where technology's going and what industries need maybe 5 years out, and then they look to develop that. So we appreciate them a lot. Our healthcare division is actually the only division in the company that is a direct-to-consumer model. So if you were to walk into Walgreens or CVS or something, you might see our blood pressure monitors or some other product on the shelf there that you can buy, or you can buy it off their website. As a matter of fact, my mom just got one not long ago, and I was talking to her on a Sunday, and she's like, hey, I had to call your customer service line for my blood pressure monitor, and they were awesome. And then they followed up with me after to make sure I was still happy, and they walked me through everything I needed, and I'm going, man, I wish our customer service for our division was that good. No, I didn't say that. So then mobility actually is now a little bit of a misnomer. It was related to our automotive division. We just sold that off. The deal just closed. So that slide is now, I have to change that next time I do this. Sorry about that. So automation division. Globally, if you talk to anybody around the world that has my position or anybody's position in the company, they should be able to recognize this slide and say, yep, this is how we're structured. These are the key industries that we go after. We're focused on the automotive business. So even companies like Tesla right up the road are customers of ours. Food and commodities, packaging, semi-digital. Obviously, the largest customer that we have in the Americas is actually right here in Silicon Valley over in Santa Clara, Applied Materials. I have been actually affiliated in some form or fashion off and on with Applied Materials since 1992, whether I was with Omron or somebody else. But if you don't know, they're the largest manufacturer of semiconductor equipment in the world by a lot. They're kind of the 800-pound gorilla of that industry. And they are, lucky for us, our largest customer in the Americas. Life sciences business, which is growing rapidly for us. And then there's that category at the end we call infrastructure, which depending on where you are in the Americas of the world could mean a lot of stuff. In the US, infrastructure for us is security and detention is part of it. We are the largest provider of PLC control systems to security and detention architects for building out of prisons, jail cells, stuff like that. And a lot of people on our sales team, maybe like Mark, I don't even know if you knew that, but a lot of people don't like to talk about that. And I love talking about it because you don't want a jail cell or prison door opening at the wrong time. So it says that those architects really trust our stuff and what we do. So we have 80% market share in that in the US. We're very proud of that. So how do we do it? Well, we have this term called SISMAC, which is kind of our branding term for our automation, our latest automation technology lineup. And we pride ourselves on being able to do all of the different categories up there you see: safety, motion, controls, sensing, robotics, vision, and collecting data through SQL servers and delivering it to other places. We can do it all in one software platform. We're the only company in the industry that can do that. We're the only company in the industry that can do everything you see up there. So one of our benefits to customers is when we walk in and start talking to them about a new manufacturing line or a new machine, a packaging machine or a semiconductor machine or medical equipment that they might be designing and building, we can do the majority, if not all, of what they need to get done. Whereas if they're talking to most of our competitors, they have to call in 3, 4, maybe 5 companies. So they may have to figure out, they might call it, and I'll name names, so it doesn't bother me. They might be using a Rockwell PLC or a Mitsubishi PLC. And they have to call on Cognex for a vision system. And they have to call Yaskawa to come in for a motion system, right? For all the motion needs. Well, they got to figure out, somebody's got to help them figure out how to make all that stuff work. And then what if it doesn't work all the time like they want it to? Well, the customer's calling 3 or 4 different companies going, hey, I'm not sure what's going on here, but stuff's not working. With us, they only have to call us. But our stuff works all the time, right? So we never get those phone calls. I wish. So how do we kind of talk about or to say, if you don't know already, when you get out into the corporate world, corporations like to kind of abbreviate everything. And usually it's 3 letters, right? There's always 3 letters affiliated with everything. As a matter of fact, I've noticed in meetings now that people, when we're naming something new, whatever the name is, they want it to be able to actually just call it by 3 letters, even though it's got this longer name. So they try to come up with names that have 3 letters that sound good together. Kind of odd, but it's true. But we have a thing called ILORS that's kind of an internal terminology to us: input, logic, output, robotics, and safety. So the input devices for detection, measurement, code reading, along with the logic devices. So we have one of, if not the largest lineup of logic control systems in the industry. So like I said, almost everything we do is a plug and play with our PLC systems. The output devices, so all the servo drives can hook right into the logic controls. The safety devices, and actually we manufactured safety for many years. In 2005, we bought a safety company that's a leading safety company in North America that was based up in Fremont, right up the road, called STI, Scientific Technologies. So they've been a part of us, 2006. Since 2006, we closed on them. And then, as with anyone now, any company, corporation, services is becoming a huge deal. Companies our types of customers in all different industries are trying to run themselves a lot leaner. So a lot of them don't have the people available to take care of a lot of the stuff that may be going wrong or failing or what have you in their facilities. So they're hiring other companies to come in and do the services or contract with them to do services. So, and that only doesn't include just having people come in and fix things or upgrade things or make sure that your equipment is compatible safety-wise to the latest regulations. But obviously robot repair services, but that also means training. So there's a lot of companies that just need constant training, and they'll contract with us to do that for them. So just a big picture look at Omron and who we are. Roughly 36,000 employees. Obviously very global. Like I said, founded in Japan. Offices, facilities all over the world, Europe. So I've been to many of the places, all the places almost up and down the Americas, many of our facilities in Europe. We started, I didn't put a slide in on it, but a couple years ago, 6, 7 years ago, the company decided to start what we call our automation centers around the world. So the first one we put in Japan, and then Barcelona, Spain, and then the third one was actually in Chicago at our headquarters, and I was a part of the design and build out on that. It was right when I was taking over marketing. And the automation centers are key for us because what they are is our automation centers are not, it's not just a building, it's a team of our smartest engineers that we have in the Americas. They belong to what we call the automation center team. They actually work in the marketing department under me. I have a very, very smart guy who runs that group for us. He's got a PhD in robotics, and he's an expert in motion. But it's a fabulous place for us because we have a lot of stuff. On any given day, we're making 30 to 40,000 parts around the world. We have up to 300,000 that we could be making at any given time. And we have a lot of stuff that needs to plug and play and work together somehow for customers. So we need those types of engineers that can work together as a team in these automation centers and communicate globally. We're now doing it through SharePoint. We set up a system through SharePoint to communicate globally with each other so that if the automation center in Barcelona is doing something for a packaging OEM or for Coca-Cola or for Mercedes or whomever, and some application comes up, we can search the database and see if anybody's done anything similar, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel on it, and we can communicate on how they did it. So it's really, we now have 9 automation centers around the globe, and it's really turned into one of the best things and best investments we've done. So we put our best and brightest in those facilities. We bring customers into those facilities so we can talk customers through different applications. And we opened ours up in 2014, the fall of 2014, and since then we've put over 4,000 people through the facility in Chicago. That doesn't include Barcelona and Japan and China and everywhere else that we have them. Just the facility outside of Chicago, we put over 4,000 people through, which blew us away, but it's been a fantastic investment for us. Oops. So what do companies care about, but really I could have put what do our customers care about. And this goes back to the slide where you saw all the industries we're involved with, plus others. I'm sure you guys have either heard from some of those companies already recently from here in the Silicon Valley, but it doesn't matter where they are. The majority of customers, when you talk to them now, they all want to become smarter at what they're doing and much more efficient, right? There's price pressures in every industry. There's delivery pressures in every industry. Everybody can't be, Amazon has kind of set the standard now for, hey, I want something and I want it now. I mean, Applied Materials has been saying that to me since '92. But Amazon has really kind of set the bar, even though we're not related in any kind of way to the industries. They're direct to consumer. But they've kind of set the bar for, hey, everybody wants everything now, right? I mean, does anybody in here read the Wall Street Journal? Just curiosity, okay. How many people in here get their news just off their phone? Just in little spats off their phone? Yeah, you guys are. So I always use the Wall Street Journal as an example because I used to subscribe to it. I still do electronically. But like on the Sunday morning Wall Street Journal will easily take me 2 to 3 hours to read through. My kids, if you saw how old they are, 18 to 24, they would never sit and read a newspaper or articles that are that long, right? So people don't have the patience. They just want little snippets and they want to go on their way. And that's how people want their products nowadays, right? You want something, you want it now. So everyone wants to be smarter, but much more efficient. And how do they do that? Well, I should have flipped those two. Flexibility, they have to be flexible in how they manufacture things. So if you go to Costco, Costco's demanding from their customers, all the food and beverage and other companies, they're demanding everything to be packaged and labeled a certain way. Then Walgreens or Walmart probably wants it a different way, and 7-Eleven may want it a different way. So these companies have to be able to be flexible and change over quickly when they're manufacturing the same product. They've got to put it in different packaging. Applied materials customers, they want their machines, when a fab's done, they want the machines now. People want their chips now from the wafers, from Intel. So everybody wants everything immediately. Nobody wants to carry any inventory. Just because inventory is like, if you have inventory sitting there, it's like having a pile of cash sitting there. So what's it doing for you? Not a lot. Nobody wants to have inventory, but everybody wants everything now. So flexibility leads into potentially track and traceability. Now there's multiple things on track and traceability that I'll touch on in a minute. But the other thing that's a big buzzword now, and I'm sure you guys heard, is IIoT and AI, right? Artificial intelligence. Everybody wants everything to be predictable and connected. Now, and I gave a presentation about a year and a half or 2 years ago at the largest engineering automotive conference back in Detroit that's hosted in the Americas. And the first thing I said is, hey, who knows, raise your hand if you know what the heck IIoT is and how to use all the data that you collect. Everybody collects data. You guys collect data. You guys have tons of data on your phones and on your laptops, right? I've got a ton of data on my phone. Companies collect way more data than they know what to do with. So the key in IIoT and AI and predictability is figuring out how to use the right data and use it in the right way. And trust me, nobody has figured that out yet. So if one of you geniuses in the room figured that out, call me and I'll come to work for you, because we'll be rich. But so are people trying? Yeah, definitely. Lots of companies are trying. There's multiple startups here in Silicon Valley up through San Francisco that, trust me, companies like ours are talking to that are all about trying to figure out how to, whether it's on the industrial side like us or whether it's on the commercial side of how to collect data and use it to everyone's advantage to make everybody more flexible and efficient and smarter at what they're doing and get you what you want when you want it, right? I mean, you've all heard, obviously Google, Facebook, these guys are masters of pushing things out to you, even almost, you may not have even known you wanted it, but they have enough algorithms going on in the background that they think that's what you want that's showing up, right? I think Steve Jobs was famous for, we have to tell everybody what they want when he developed the iPhone and the iPod. They don't know what they want. The consumer needs to be told what they want. Well, if we were all that smart and had the right products, we'd all be rich, right? Oops, I keep hitting that. So smart manufacturing. And when I talk about that, obviously with factories in the automation world, enabling factories of the future today. Dark factories. Anybody heard that term before? So it's a very big, huge, but it's growing. A lot of companies, a lot of automotive companies, a lot of tier suppliers to different companies are using the term dark factory, and they are actually investing in teams of manufacturing engineers, production people. They're putting teams together. And what they mean by a dark factory is being able to put a product out of that factory without having the lights on. You don't need people in the factory. Now, that may not sound good on one hand to some people because they think about job issues and what are people going to do for jobs on one hand. But it also allows you to shift people to other things that may need to get done rather than a menial job of, back in the Midwest, we sold some collaborative robots to a company to turn screws coming down the manufacturing line. And what was happening is the consistency and the quality wasn't there because they had to switch people doing it every 2 hours. And sometimes there was a left-handed person, sometimes there was a right-handed person, and people had different variations of what they thought torque was. So we substituted a robot in that could work 24/7 and people were also getting carpal tunnel syndrome and other issues. So it was a safety and a health hazard issue. But those people don't lose their jobs. They just move them to go do something else within the business that needs to get done, right? But dark factories will be a thing of the future. They're coming. Artificial intelligence and connectivity will contribute to that. The serialization, this is the track and traceability I was mentioning. It's a lot of it's being driven by regulatory requirements, but it's a huge help in quality control. So whether it's food in the grocery store, if something goes bad, they want to be able to go right back to the source of where it came from in the field, or if it was eggs, where the chickens hatched them, what have you. But this is now massive in companies, especially in pharmaceutical, the life sciences, and the food industry. So you're going to see a lot of new technology developments just around track and traceability. Flexibility. So we, if you didn't know, we do the mobile robotics. You guys just acquired one of our fixed robots recently. Thank you for doing that. We appreciate that. But when we talk about a dark factory, or a factory that's self-sufficient and flexible, this doesn't look like any kind of ordinary manufacturing line, right? So you can have different cells doing different things at the same time. You can have different cells doing things the same thing at different times. Cells can be moved around. You can have robots that can take something off of one line, take them over to another, and you don't need people to do that. So just a little marketing pitch, our mobile robots that we have, we can run up to 100 of these off of one enterprise management system inside a facility. So they won't bump into each other. They're actually kind of fun to be around, because they'll come cruising up to you. We have some of them in our office in the automation centers. They'll just cruise right up to you, stop, wait 5 seconds. If you don't get out of their way, they just go around you. They don't need any kind of magnetics or anything to follow. It's all a software program. If we brought one in here, we could drop it down, and within 20 minutes, we could have it programmed to go through this whole room. And then if you put your foot out and got in its way, it would just wait and then go around and then go back on its merry way to where it's supposed to go. And the technology of that really is kind of still developing. The company that we bought, Adept, in 2015, they're the leaders in the enterprise software portion of it, because they've been doing this for years. But there's multiple other startups, especially here in the Valley, that are doing the same thing. So consumer IoT and industrial IoT, I was mentioning this earlier. You guys are already doing all this stuff and know all about it. You guys know more about this than I do. I drive an Audi, and sometimes I can't get my phone connected all the time. It drives me crazy. But my son does it every time. I don't know how. So what I care about right now is the industrial stuff, because that's the world we play in. So how do we make everything connected? Well, so when you talk about industrial IoT, it's really about leveraging the data available that's being collected on all the devices and systems that customers have in their facilities. So what we're trying to do, and literally when I mean this, we're all in the infancy stages of this, including Omron. Our competitors, the startups, everybody's in the infancy stage of this, but this is huge for the future. So if you're thinking about looking at some type of career path, there's going to be a lot of opportunities in this space going forward. So what do we look at? So like I said earlier, a lot of our stuff is all connected together, which is nice for us. We have a SQL database that we can shoot stuff up into the cloud system with. So we're actually, never would have thought this, we're actually working with more IT departments in companies now. I mean, who would have thought that, right? When you're trying to spec in hardware and that kind of thing onto factory floors. So I thought this was a good way to put it, right? If controls, motion, and robots help automate manual tasks, then IoT and Industry 4.0 technologies can help automate decisions. And that's the big deal now, because a lot of the manual task hardware is out there, is available, is being put to use. There's still a lot to do around cost of ownership on that stuff, so proving out cost of ownership. A lot of companies, you'd be shocked when we're a Japanese company. When the Japanese come over here and visit our factories over here, and our customers, they're shocked at how automated American and Canadian companies and the companies in Mexico are becoming. The Japanese, I was shocked when I went to Japan. They actually lag behind us in automation of factories. Even Omron factories are what I would say much more manually driven than they are automated. And we're an automation company, right? So we're ahead of that. But this is where, and we're testing this stuff out with our own devices to prove it out in our factories in Japan and other locations. But this is where the next 10 years of our industry is going to play in, and where a lot of the development is. So what does all that mean, right? Who cares about it? Well, if you can detect an issue and figure out something's going to happen either immediately or even before it happens, even minuscule things. So if you're manufacturing a silicon wafer and you lose that wafer in production for whatever reason, you just flushed about $100,000 or more down the drain. So these companies do not want to lose productivity on the products that they're manufacturing. Whether it's an automobile, a wafer, some kind of food and beverage, whatever it is, those things are going at such high speeds that it's a huge loss if they have to shut down at all. And it's the automotive industry especially. So if they can have any kind of predictive intelligence and data that can tell them something's about to happen, we're seeing trends that it looks like this is going to happen, you send somebody in to go fix it before it goes down, it's a huge savings for companies, huge. So again, another small commercial, and I'm getting towards the end. What are we doing? Well, we've just launched what we call, it's the world's first AI controller, artificially intelligent controller. So it actually collects a lot of data that the customers have coming through their factory facilities, the machines, in a lot of the input devices that are going through our logic control systems. And then we have software algorithms and data science algorithms built in to help try to predict what's going on with their equipment. So we might be able to shoot them a signal to say, you have a power supply failing over in this area, and you have about 15 hours left on it. And if that power supply goes down, you're going to lose some machines. They're going to go down, and it's going to take you 7 hours to get them back up and running. Well, the companies lose 7 hours of production. That's a lot of money lost. So tons of interest in this. I'm not going to get too in depth with it because I'm not the smartest guy in the world on this. But if you guys are interested, there's a lot of information on our website about it. Or if you want to contact me, I can get you a lot more in-depth on information about it. But I'm just saying, from a career standpoint, this is where a lot of companies, a lot of industries are headed. There's a lot of investment here in the Valley going into trying to figure all this stuff out and who's going to be the best at it, which is fantastic. It's nice to see. So moving on from the automation industry, one more sales pitch on it is, I've been in it 30 plus years. Mark, I know you've been in it a long time. It's a fun, fabulous industry to work in. You get to see all kinds of different cool stuff. You get to work with all kinds of usually the latest and greatest technologies, and there's so much to do in it. So how do we try to help college students get involved in it? So this is for you, and I'm also the recruitment guy, so I'm trying to help us recruit. So Omron offers a 10-week summer internship program. You get some classroom training, not a ton, but some, because you're only with us for 10 weeks. So it's not like we're not trying to make you experts at all of our products. That's impossible. You get a lot of field exposure. So out of the 10 weeks, you travel around the United States for at least 4 of those weeks, if not 5. And you get to go see a lot of these companies we deal with, like Applied Materials, like a Honda, like a Procter & Gamble, like a Coca-Cola, all kinds of companies and industries that you get to see actually how a lot of cool technology is used, not just ours, but all kinds of technology, obviously. You partner with your fellow interns on a summer-long project. So we all get together and decide a meaningful project for you guys to work on. And it's not just something to give you to do. It's something that when you're done, we hope we can take advantage of what you guys have done and utilize it with it to make our business better. So we try to think of things of, hey, what could these interns do? They're all smart people coming out of college or in college. What could we have them do to try to help us get better? And then at the end of that, well, you get to do a community outreach day, of course. I started off with that. We're big on that. And at the end, the interns get together and present to the executive panel on their project. So it really, it accomplishes two things. It tells you guys how good you are at working within a team, but as you're traveling around the US, you still have to get some work done, right? So you have to figure out how to work together remotely. And it shows us at the end, how well did you do that? How well can these students work together on a team and accomplish something that's valuable, right? We also, I mentioned, have an engineering training program. So this you have to be at least finishing your sophomore year to come into the summer program. So we take students between their sophomore and junior year and their junior and senior years for the internship program. And this is if you're graduating. So every June, we start anywhere from usually 6 to 8 new engineering trainees. Full-time position, you're an employee of the company, you get all the benefits. We've been doing this for 5 years now. We have 86% of the people that we've hired are still with the company. The ones I know that have left it's been because of like marriages and they had to relocate because their spouse had a job somewhere else. One actually went to a competitor, but we don't talk about her. But that's a very high retention rate for any company. It really is. So we're very proud of that. Really, it's the goals are, do we have the right people doing the right stuff? So we really listen to you guys on what your interests are, and I'll talk about that in a second. And you know, how you work between departments. But we really spend that 6 months, it's just an expanded, in-depth version of this program, the internship program. We really want to educate you about our entire industry and our company. And then we want you guys to start figuring out what do you think you want to do? And well, like I said before, there's a lot to do. So this is not my entire organization. This is just a high-level picture of the organization. So the majority of the people in here, in the marketing team, minus some in digital marketing and some in Marcom, but like, so marketing communications, Keith runs that team, he's an engineer. Craig Brockman runs product management, Mike Chen, the majority of all these people are engineers. Whether electrical, mechanical, chemical, they're mostly all engineers. Now, what you'll find is, and when we hire a lot of engineering trainees out of college, they'll say, I'm never, ever going into sales, so I don't even want to talk about going into sales. Well, guess what? Here's a high-level view of our sales team. Almost, I'd say 80%, 70 to 80% of our entire sales team has some type of engineering degree. A lot of the engineering trainees, they come in and they go out and they spend time out in the field visiting customers and they realize, wow, when I'm out talking to customers, I'm actually talking to other engineers. And I'm trying to help them solve these problems or develop a new machine or develop a new manufacturing line for their facility. And I can provide value to them because I know more about sensors than they do. I know more about robotics than they do because they probably haven't been trained on it, or if they were, it was a brief time in college. And you guys have spent a lot of time getting trained on it, and you have a lot of people behind you to support you, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say with either this slide or this slide, and I could show you a lot more slides with more people, there's a lot to do, not just with an Omron, but with the automation industry as a whole. So no matter what you think you want to do, whatever it is you want to do, you should pursue that if you're very passionate about it. But I would just encourage you to just keep an open mind when you're looking at different things and when you're looking at companies. Because a lot of these people never thought they'd be where they would be. I never thought I would be standing here talking to you about maybe you guys trying to come to work for us one day as an engineer or come to work just in the automation industry as an engineer. But here I am, right? So lots of things can happen. But just keep an open mind when you're looking at things and talking to different companies take a look at what the future possibilities are there for you, and not maybe just what you're focused on right at that moment. So it can be fun. Everybody know what the Consumer Electronics Show is? CES in Las Vegas every year. A couple of years ago, we decided to start displaying there. Really, we're like one of the only automation companies that displayed there. But if you haven't seen this before, we call this Forpheus. We developed this in Japan, and what it is it's our teaching ping pong robot. So, and we emphasize the word teaching. It's not a competition. We're not trying to beat anybody here. It really is, we took all of our coolest technology, the latest and greatest, all the ILORS stuff, right? The input, logic, output, safety, everything that we have, robotics, obviously, you can see the robot. And we're like, well, how can we make something to show people that automation is not only fun, but you can learn from it, and it can teach people, right? So this robot, if you haven't seen it, all you have to do is go on YouTube and type in Omron ping pong robot or Forpheus, and it'll come up right away with a bunch of videos, and you can watch it. It really, when people come to our booth at CES and play it, they're amazed because it actually measures how you're returning the ball, so it predicts where the ball is going to come back. So it's measuring the rotation of the ball. I can't even think of the number, but it measures the rotation of the ball, the arm speed of the paddle, the rotation on the ball, and you can watch the robot. The paddle will go before the ball gets there. The paddle's already there waiting because it's predicting where the ball is going to be. And as you start playing better, it starts playing better with you. And then it can do, we do a visual of how the person improved and what type of player they are, and it gives advice at the end of things that the person should work on to get better. But a lot of people come in and say, I'm going to beat this robot. And we're like, no, it's not there to beat you. But anyway, so if you know, I didn't know who he was at first, but all the younger people that work for me are like, Steve Aoki, are you kidding me? He's awesome. He came and played it along with, we had a bunch of athletes and other celebrities come by the booth because they heard about the robot. So automation can really be fun too. And that's it. So, something like that. Yeah. Longer than I thought.
All right, do we have questions for Matt?
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
How much for Forpheus?
Yeah.
I've been asked that. It's not for sale. And I had a very wealthy Texas business person at the show 2 years ago say, everything's for sale, what's the price? And I said, well, okay, $10 million, and then it travels with 5 Japanese engineers. And I said, where are you going to put this? And he goes, in my house. I go, you have a big house? Yeah, I have a big house. And he goes, okay. I said, well, you have to have these 5 guys live in your house with you. And he's like, oh. I said, oh. Because it's pretty sensitive. It likes to take a break during the day, and they have to tweak things. There is.
Well, thank you for your sharing. The robot you show for ping pong, I just curious because most of the time people, play ping pong use arm. And then I know your company built a robotics arm. Why you use a parallel delta robots instead of robotics arm to design that educator for ping pong?
Yeah, I can't specifically answer why the R&D team did that, because I've never asked them that, but I have a feeling it was because of the speed and flexibility of those particular arms, that they needed that speed and reach and flexibility. And we didn't have another particular arm that could do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, other questions? This side of the room also can ask questions. So I have one. I was actually puzzled by your statement that you said that Japan was not really a leader. In fact, they were behind other countries in some ways on automation, and I'm wondering why. I think with their underpopulation, slow population, or population decline, and other things, they would be really interested in trying to figure out ways to do more manufacturing with less people.
Yeah, I was shocked when I went over there, and This will just only be my opinion. I don't,
That's
I
fine.
don't know what the actual reason is, but my opinion is if you're familiar with Japanese companies, it's employment for life. So I think one of the reasons that they don't invest as heavily in automation in their factories as we might be doing in other parts of the world is because they're still trying to figure out how to deal with that, right? Because when you go to, Omron, when you talk to somebody at Omron in Japan, they've worked there since they got out of college or before. And they might be there 40 years. So that's just my opinion. I don't know the
Yeah,
real
that's
answer.
fine. Thank you. All right, other questions?
With the movable robot, does it have arms? I didn't actually see that.
It does not on the mobile.
Yeah, the mobile.
It does not. But we've recently created a version that's it's not for sale just yet. It's still in development, but we have test units right now that has because companies put all kinds of toppers on the mobile. So some of it might be a conveyor, something different. But those are all customizations that the companies do themselves, or they have an integrator do it for them. But we have developed a version that takes one of our robot arms or our collaborative robot and puts it on top of the mobile robot.
So this leads me to my next question. So how is that mobile robot much different than an AGV that has been around for a long time?
The difference is ours is that it doesn't need any guidance. Right? It doesn't have to follow any tracks, wires, magnets, nothing. Yeah. So we call ours an automated intelligent vehicle.
All right, we've got a question on this side.
Hi, my name is Yan. Thank you for coming and sharing everything and knowledge to us. My question to you is, have you faced difficult problem working with a team and how you overcome that?
Have I faced a difficult problem? Yeah. Sure. Yes. More than one. Yeah, I tend to be opinionated when I'm in meetings. And so the one thing about business to me is business should never be personal, right? And everybody has opinions, and that's why you're at the table. And everybody's opinion should be heard. But eventually you have to come to a consensus. And like I was saying earlier, we look for people, when we hire people that can work, that we think can collaborate and work in teams because, and we've made mistakes before, people stick out if they can't, you have to come to a decision eventually. And if you have somebody that's just fighting that the whole way because they just think they're right, it's going to be tough on everybody, right? So if you can't come to a decision, well, that's what a manager's for, is the manager's just going to have to make a decision, right? Yeah, we get into sometimes tough situations all the time. A couple weeks ago, I was in our headquarters, and I actually got into it. I work for our CEO. His name's Rob Black. And him and I got into it at the coffee machine, on the executive coffee machine, and we got into it a little bit about something, and but he likes that about me, because I'm not going to just say, okay, Rob, okay, you're right, Rob, right? I'll give him my opinion, and he'll give me his, and at the end of the day, if we don't agree, he wins, because and I'm not gonna argue with him anymore, as long as we've looked at all the facts intelligently. But yeah, you get into in business, you get into situations like that all the time. It's just that you have to realize at the end of the day, you should be able to go out and have dinner or a beer or a glass of wine with these people, or talk about your kids, or talk about what they're doing that weekend. Nobody should ever take business personal, because it's just business. You're all working for the same company, trying to achieve the same success, and you're gonna all have different ideas of how to get there, and that's okay. That's a good thing, right? Everybody just has to respect that, though.
All right, great. So I think we're about at the end of our time, but we'll have a few minutes if folks wanted to ask Matt a question before they head off to the next thing. So let's thank him again for a great talk.
All right, thank you.